Sweet. I am up to part 7. This is great. Quick recap of part 6. I moved back home with my parents. Um, Barbarella and I. Barbarella introduced me to heroin, the trickery, and became a heroin addict. But, anyways, it was the beginning of the new year, um, 2003. Winter, cold, and I finally was able to get a job. I got a job at a local MLM company, a multi-level marketing company. There's just a bunch of them here, and it was a really shitty job. Brutal, back-breaking manual labor job. Um, I worked at McDonald's, and then I worked at a cushy tech job where I sat behind a desk all day hanging out. So I was definitely not used to the manual labor. Driving forklifts, cleaning out these gigantic vats, and pre-weighing chemicals for uh, healthcare products. Yeah, it was awful, and my shifts were awful, super long. I was working 4:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, 5 days a week to start, and then it went to 6 days a week. So, and I wasn't making very much money. I was making, I think, $8 an hour, which was like nothing compared to what I had been making. So that was depressing. And I also had to pay for a heroin addiction for myself and Barbarella, which was also stressful. And I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, and I lost tons of weight. I got so skinny during that time in my life. And my days were a blur. For 5 months, I did that. Just hang out with Barbarella till 3 o'clock in the morning, sleep for an hour, get up, go to work all day long, get home, buy my drugs, rinse and repeat. Just horrible way to live. Like, oh man, I just wanted to die. It was just freaking awful. But yeah, I eventually um, got fired. They had a random drug test, and I tried every trick in the book to get out of that drug test. So I pretended that I couldn't pee in the cup when they came to work, and they made everybody piss in cups, and I acted like I couldn't pee, and then they kind of, I thought they forgot about it. So I just went on working, and then um, I got some clean piss from a friend of mine. I kept it in the refrigerator, um, just in case they were going to test me again. And I used to carry it with me. And I was so naive that I didn't realize that they actually test the temperature of the pee. Yeah, rookie mistake, I know. So when I was at work and they approached me and said, "Hey, we need you to do your drug test." I actually didn't have the piss on me, but they wanted me to go to a hospital, clinic, and pee in a cup there and have it sent off to a lab. So I convinced the driver of the there was like a van that took everybody to the clinic that needed to be drug tested. I convinced the driver that I needed to swing by my house, and I went and I grabbed my container of fake piss, and I went in and at the clinic I went in and to the bathroom, and I dumped my fake piss into the cup, and I came out and I handed it to the nurse, and she's like, "Oh, that's strange. The temperature's off on it," and I was just like, "Oh, what? Oh no, what does that mean?" And so they took a hair sample and tested my hair follicle, which that's kind of hard to fake one of those. So I was pretty much screwed, and I knew I was being fired, and I even to the end, like you do in junkie fashion, you hang on to your lie as long as you can, even when you know you're busted, you just keep on lying. When they called me in to fire me, I just I kept telling them that I was on painkillers and that I had health problems, and they looked at me like, "Well, how do you explain the heroin in your system?" And I was just like, "Oh, yeah. All right, well, here's my badge." And then they wouldn't even let me drive home. They said there was some kind of liability that if I had drugs in my system and I got in a wreck, they could be held liable or some shit like that. So they had security drive me home. So got fired from my job, and it was pretty pathetic. I was pretty pathetic, and my life was completely off the rails at that point. I had no idea what I was doing. I At one point I went into Key Labs where I had worked over a year prior to that, and I sat down with my old manager and I just started bawling. I mean, just sobbing to him, just how miserable I was. And he thought it was mainly because I had a shitty job, which was partially true, but it was all the other stuff, the buying drugs and the doing drugs and the being high and not getting any sleep and whatnot, just was really taking its toll on me. And so he convinced them to bring me on as a contractor. Yeah, Key Labs was still limping along, skeleton crew, and I got my job back, sort of there. It was like a part-time gig, um, off-site. I wasn't actually working in the building, and I ruined that too. I'm making a little more money. I was making actually double than my previous job, and Barbarella was always there. I was still doing drugs on the job. I was nodding off at my desk. I was falling asleep at work, and I felt like I'd finally gotten my lucky break by getting my old job back, even though I was making just a fraction of the money. I felt like, oh, finally, I got a lucky break, and um, I can really put my life back on track. Well, it's not that easy just to put your life back on track when you're a heroin addict. Um, I tried doing the methadone clinic thing, which just was methadone clinics don't work. Like, take it from me, methadone clinics are retarded and a waste of your time and your money. I would wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, go stand in line um, to get my methadone every morning, and there wasn't anything preventing me from doing heroin at that point. So what I ended up doing was I would go get dosed in the morning with methadone. I'd feel good till the afternoon, and then Barbarella and I would head up to the city and buy dope. So I was doing both methadone and heroin at the same time, which just retarded on so many levels. And eventually I just stopped going to the methadone clinic because I didn't like waking up that early and having to pay every week to get the methadone. I should have stuck with it, but I didn't. And if you can stick with the methadone treatment, you're a better person than I am. And I feel like I'm skipping over a lot of stuff. I feel like I left a lot out this time around. I have to admit, this is one of my weaker entries in this story. Um, I literally skipped over like 8 months in 9 minutes, and was it really that like uneventful? I swear there was just so much more going on at that time of my life. It was a lot of the same shit every single day, though. Um, maybe that's all there was to it. I'll have to think about it more. Maybe revisit this entry and probably redo it.